Bandai Tamashii Nations have released a very solid looking figure of young Naruto in their S.H.Figuarts line. We're going to take a closer look at this right now. It's been a while since I've done an unboxing of any action figure, and we're going to go back to it with this guy, Uzumaki Naruto from the main series Naruto. And this time it's the S.H.Figuarts of the young version of the character. They have released S.H.Figuarts of Team 7 as the Shippuden characters, which I've done videos on before. I was a little bit mid on some of them, but this guy here is looking good straight away. Ignore the reflection of the ring light just there, but you can see him in the box in his young self there with his orange jumpsuit, which looks great on the yellow background as well, so he sticks out quite a bit. You've got really good preview of the alternate face plates there on the left side, so you've got the gritting the teeth, you've got yelling, and then this one's really cool, the QB one, and then the comical one, plus the Rasengan there as an optional effect part. Alternate hands are on the right side, so it looks pretty basic, but I'm really liking what I see with the face plates so far. And yeah, in general, he looks pretty good in the box, and I'm seeing so far, I think I have a bit more of a positive expression or impression of him in the box versus the Shippuden one. But let's see how it is once we get him out of the box. The rest of the box is similar sort of pattern and theme that we had with the Shippuden line. It's not textured, it just looks it, which is nice. You've got a portrait of the filtered version of the character there, or the figure, and then around the box it's just kind of got littered with pictures of the character or the figure. Here's a closer look at some of the poses as well. You can see the QB face, which looks really good, and plus the Rasengan, which looks great as well. We've had Rasengan parts before, I believe. This is the other side, and this is the top, and then the bottom, like so. I do have Uchiha Sasuke as well as Orochimaru, so it's been a while since I've actually had this in hand. But let's take a closer look at Uzumaki Naruto. So here's everything you get inside the box. You do, of course, get the instruction sheet, which I seldom mention in a lot of my videos, but you do get them in pretty much every S.H.Figuarts box or figure. So we've got additional hand parts here, as you can see, additional face parts, and then some optional kind of effect parts, you might say, or accessories. And then, of course, the figure right here. So we'll go through the effect parts first and the hands first, and then we'll go into the figure. So skip ahead if you want to jump to the actual figure. So first, we've got the two fists hidden behind his head. I just posed him up very quickly. So you've got others that look like fists, but these are actually going to be to hold the kunai, which I'm going to just show you right now too. His hands, of course, have that kind of white skin tone, a slight pinkish tint compared to, say, Sasuke, which we'll see in a separate video or later on in this video. Here's the kunai. It's basic. I think this is pretty much the same kunai that must have come with the previous Naruto Shippuden figures as well. And then all you got to do to put the kunai into the hand is take the little attachment bit at the top off and then feed it through the hand, whichever way you want. Usually it's from bottom to the top, and then that's it. If you do need to loosen up the hands, then soak them in warm water or use a hairdryer if you need to. And that's really all you need to do. And then just swap the hand part onto the arm peg. That's really all there is to it. Then we move on to the other next pair of hands even. And this is going to be slightly opened, slightly relaxed, open palm hands as well. You can use this for various action poses, which is going to be really handy to have. That's that. We get some ninpo hands like so. These are pretty basic ninpo hands. Nothing kind of extravagant. These are just kind of ones that we see almost all the time, and the default ones, so to speak. It's like so. We also then get 3 individual right hands. So we'll start with this one here. You can see there's a whole attachment there, which is going to be for the Rasengan, which I might as well show you now as well. So the Rasengan looks like this. We've seen something like this before, if not the exact same thing with one of the Naruto Shippuden, I think Sage Mode characters before. So it's got a bit of translucency to it and then a little bit of fog effect at the top. And all you got to do is just peg this in. This does only go one way, so you've got like a circle that's been cut on one edge. Just line up the flat edge to the palm like so, and that's what you've got. It isn't the most secure fit. It's okay for now, but yours might be looser, might be tighter. Yeah, just keep an eye on that one. The next individual right hand that we have is just going to be something like this. You can use this in different ways. I like it in terms of using to like hold onto his headband. I think it gives a nice kind of look. You can use it in other ways though. Then finally, the other right hand that we've got is the kind of scrunched up fingers. It's just a shame they didn't give a pair of these. Usually they would give a pair of these. Sasuke comes with a pair, so I don't know why he only comes with the one, because I usually find these hands, well, I have a preference for these kind of hands rather than just going full on fists. But yeah, you've only got the one right hand for this type of hand, but that's his hand. Well, almost his hands. And then, of course, we get the ones that are his Jinchuriki ones, the QB ones, where he's not fully transformed, but partly. So you've got the claws there, the nails. You can see in white. So far, they've been okay for me. Nothing's cracked or, chipped. So it's been good for me. but skin tone is pretty much the same as the other hands. They're not too sharp, so don't need to worry too much about it. But yeah, pretty good so far there. Then onto one of my favorite things of this figure are the faceplates. His alternate faces are really awesome. I love them so much. So of course we've got the default face right here, which I think looks just really great. It's nothing special in terms of the expression or anything, but it's nicely done. It's very clean. We'll start with this next alternate one here. So this one is him kind of yelling, screaming, in an action pose, whatever you want to use it for. It's probably going to come in quite useful for it. His eyes, his mouth, his whiskers, everything is so cleanly done. I absolutely love it. This is not just for this face, it's across all faces. So big well done to Tamashii Nations for really making Naruto's faces absolutely amazing. I love them all to bits. I think they are just, yeah, really nice. The profile looks good, side angles look good, as in like not full on and not full profile looks good as well. So all angles look really good for this Naruto, young Naruto figure. So I'm really happy with his faceplates and how they've come out. The expressions are great as well. Just, yeah, really great. One small niggle, really minor, is his sideburns. The yellow on the sideburns is a little bit different from what's on his head there. It's subtle from a distance, but it is different. The eyebrows I usually don't mind because eyebrows tend to be a little bit different, or I'm used to that. But yeah, definitely the sideburns are slightly different. Let's have a look at then the second alternate one, which is gritting his teeth. You can use this again for a couple of different various sort of expressions and kind of character moments that you want to kind of portray. So this is another great one to have as well. I quite like it. You do have a little bit of pink on the inner lining inside the mouth, which I think is a nice touch. It might be a little bit too much pink for some people, but I really like it. Again, the eyes look great and the eyebrows look great too. We got a comical expression right here, which looks nice as well. It's pretty much what we saw with Naruto Shippuden stuff, with the kind of last wave of Team 7. All of them, I think, had a comical one. And then finally, we get the one with the red eyes, where he's kind of transforming a little bit into the QB stuff. So we've got a nice clean expression here. The furrowed eyebrows, the eyes kind of like wrinkling up. Amazing looking stuff here. The whiskers expanding as well. It's all cleanly done. Of course, we've got the fangs too on his teeth. You've got the same sort of inner pink lining of the mouth like we saw in the previous face. But I love this face as well. It looks absolutely awesome. Profile looks great as well. But yeah, all his faces look absolutely amazing. So I'm really happy with his faces. I think they are some of the best faces I've seen on an S.H.Figuarts in quite a while, to be honest. I think everything was done very nicely there. So again, good job to Tamashii Nations for that. But now let's jump into the figure. So this is the figure. I've got him posed just in that kind of casual hands behind his head pose that we've seen him in before. Now, first thing I want to point out is though that the actual look and style of the figure is more kind of what we see in the anime. And this is kind of across the board for all of the Naruto figures and really a lot of the Dragon Ball and anime figures in general that come out, which is fine for the most part. But I would really like to see this character and even Goku, for example, more like their early illustrated look in the early parts of the manga, how they kind of looked originally. And that's usually slightly shorter stature, wider like kind of proportions. Everything's a little bit different and much more, I don't know, dynamic looking personally. But here we've just kind of got standard anime looking. It's fine. But that's just something I wanted to quickly comment on before I forget. So here we've got young Naruto specifically in that classic blue and orange jumpsuit, which looks very good. Generally speaking, he looks great. There's not a lot that I have an issue with this guy. In terms of the way he looks, I think he looks really good. Articulation is also pretty good, which we'll get into in just a moment as well. So I'm just going to move his hands out of the way so you can see everything. So of course you've got the little extra bit on his left shoulder, the little whistle, I guess, and then the right shoulder is a bit different. You've got was it the Uzumaki symbol on the back? They ended up deciding that was the Uzumaki symbol, but that you got that on the back as well. I don't believe you can take this out to reveal any peg hole, or at least I couldn't take mine out. Then you got the little pouch on there, which is similar to the Hatake Kakashi one that we saw before. And then we come down to his right thigh with the pouch on there as well, which I don't think you can take off. I did have an issue with one of my legs, by the way, which I'll get into as we talk about in the articulation portion of this kind of video. And then we've got the blue sandals as well. So the younger version of blue sandals where the heel is covered instead of the Chunin one where the heel ends up being revealed. For most of them, character dependent, I suppose. But otherwise, yeah, he looks pretty good. But let's talk about the articulation. Starting with the head, you can probably tell he's slightly going to be slightly restricted, right, because of his kind of cuff or the collar, and that's true. I I believe, a problem with my neck, like the deeper inner neck bit that you usually see around the kind of collarbone. It's really stiff on my one. Like I can't really move it. It's okay, but it's very, very stiff. Oh, something I just remembered. When you do kind of pose his head, his hair is quite sharp on my one, and that's good in that it looks nice, but it's a bit annoying when actually dealing with it. And then I also think I might end up blunting it over time. And also, yeah, there's going to be a lot of dust that gets caught in his hair as well. So it's quite sharp. So just you're going to have to get used to it. But anyway, as I was saying, it is a little bit stiff to kind of tilt and move the downwards neck. But in terms of the upper head portion, it's okay. Kind of moves around. You're going to get the restrictions, as I mentioned, because of his collar. That's just stiff. That would have been great if it was a bit loose, because I think it just hinders a bit of his kind of range of motion there, because hair immediately hinders. So you can't really look even more directly over his shoulder, which some poses I would prefer he did, but not the end of the world. It's fine. But here we go. You can look down there and then up. His band bit there, the little tied up bit, actually comes out. Mine sometimes comes out, well, usually it comes out just randomly, but when I want it to come out, it's not coming out. But you can sometimes reposition this, but play around with that and see if it works for you. It's nothing crazy. It's fine to be left as it is. And then we've got his shoulders. So the left shoulder has the little whistle bit, so it's going to be slightly more restricted. One of my arms is a bit stiffer, but you can see it's not super duper restricted. It does go all the way around. I think it's the right one that's a bit shifted. I found his shoulders a little bit weird because of the cut hair and his shoulders being quite small. It just meant I had to kind of fiddle with it a bit more to get the actual shoulder bit kind of moving and working. You've got a bicep swivel, as I just mentioned, and then you got the bend at the elbow, which looks fine, like so. And of course, all the classic hand, the swivel on the hand, and then the little pivoting right there as well. So that's all good on the hand. And then we come down to the torso section, which is all fine. You can see that's going to be on a loose bit there, the bottom bit of his jumpsuit or coat. That's where the pouch is also attached. I don't mind it being loose. I think it was the Shippuden one where I did mind it. But here, it's actually not too bad. You can usually cover any kind of gaps that occur as well. There's some slight shading or color difference. It looks like shading to me, but it's super slight. So hopefully it's not a big issue on anyone else's figure as well. But yeah, it's pretty good. You can lean nicely, lean back like so, and then forward. And there's not much gaps on the backside, which is nice as well. Then we come down to the crotch area. Like I said, you can lift this bit up a little bit if you want to. Crotch area is pretty much standard what we saw in previous Naruto figures, Dragon Ball figures, and so on as well. Same sort of joints going on there as well. And then you've got the twist here. And this is where things kind of broke on my one. So this guy is actually, I wouldn't say broken, but I'm going to hopefully not break it. But I want to just show you. So this is actually where my Naruto figure is slightly not perfect. So basically, I'm just going to pull this off. So this is how this joint looks, right? So you've actually got a screw there on a ball joint. So this ball joint is not fully attached or welded on or glued on. It's separate and then it's screwed in. My screw on the left side, on the right side, sorry, it was loose. The thread, the hole is just loose. So I just glued it on. I don't know why it needs to have a screw. Why not just mold it that way? It seems a bit of a weird thing, weird decision. And I hadn't seen that before. I believe it's probably going to be the same for Shippuden figure as well. But yeah, this one on the right leg, mine is a bit broken. But I used some super glue and it seems to be holding just fine for the time being. But if it does happen to you, I'm going to risk it again and pull it apart. But if the screw is loose, yeah, try some super glue and then hopefully that will work. It took a while to get that ball peg out of this leg portion here when I'm pointing. That was the struggle initially. Once I got it out though, yeah, it seems to be doing fine so far, but a bit of an odd like articulation joint choice personally. I don't know why they went with a screw. It just seems like so weird. Anyway, continuing with the knee bend like so, and this is where I can also mention the slight color difference between the knee and then the rest of his pants, which is, I believe, more evident than anything else on the figure, and not the end of the world again, but I would hope that they kind of fix things like that. I don't know why that's different. It doesn't. There's no real reason for it to be different. It comes back down to the end of his cuffs of the pants, revealing some of his legs, and then you've got the boots like so. So these are articulated like that at the heel, and then there's a twist just at the cuff of the sandal. There you can see ending with the toe pivot, like so. The toe hinge, sorry, like so. So his feet are actually not bad. They are pretty much the same thing as what we've seen with Kakashi before as well. So that's all fine. They work very nicely. He doesn't really have too much loose stuff on my figure. Some people might have that. I do have that issue with my Sasuke figure, which I'll talk about in a separate video. But otherwise, most of his stuff is pretty good, minus the leg bit that I mentioned there. And if you've got an issue with that leg as well, let me know if that's happened on your figure or even other figures that have a similar sort of joint, because this is the first time that's happened to me, and yeah, on my figure as well. So fortunately, it's not the end of the world. I've managed to sort it out. So to quickly recap, his looks are pretty solid, not really much to comment on there, and then his articulation is pretty decent for the most part. The head is a little bit restricted, but that's about it. We can now talk about swapping some parts, which is pretty standard and quite easy to do. We'll start with the head, then the hand. So as I mentioned with the head, spiky hair, so you might end up feeling a little bit of pain. Take off the head. My head does pop off a little bit easy sometimes, but it's okay. It's not super loose. Take off the head, remove the faceplate like we did there, and then I'm going to swap it to this one, the QB one, because this is the most different and it's a very cool one. Line up the ball peg to the socket there. You may hear a click, you may not. Just now that I've kind of seen it and mentioned it, I do have some occasional kind of paint little, I guess, smudges or bleeds here and there, so a little bit of blue there, and sometimes around his head it's a little bit more green. Nothing major, not a deal breaker by any means, but I do have slight imperfections in paint on my figure here and there. If you look super close from a distance on a shelf, you ain't gonna notice. That's what he looks like with the head faceplate swapped, and he looks really good there. But of course, we need to complete this by changing the hands. We're gonna do both of them because I really want to make it look great. So we're going to swap to the claw hand. So right hand first, pull out the hand, and then attach them. Very simple, very straightforward stuff. If it's your first figure, don't be too nervous. It should be fine. If it snaps, that's, yeah, well, I hope it doesn't snap. I have not had any pegs snap on me. Not any S.H.Figuarts pegs so far. And hopefully that does not happen to any of you guys as well. And then there we have the Jinchuruki QB, or the earlier form of it, from the part 1 of the anime and the manga, and that's looking really cool. He looks super solid. As I mentioned, I really love all his face plates, including this one. You can see he looks really great there. Absolutely awesome stuff. I love the red eyes. There are little details here, so hopefully you can see. I'm going to zoom into his eyes, and yeah, there you can see how sick does that look. He looks really good. All his face plates are just perfect. I don't normally say that a lot, actually, perfect, but I really love all his faceplates. They're just so good. I mean, this is probably the one I don't like that much because it's comical. I don't really care too much, but it's still done nicely, right? I'm not going to knock it for anything. It's still done very, very nicely. But yeah, he looks absolutely awesome. I'm going to pose that very quickly. He poses very nicely. I mean, we could have talked about this in articulation bit, but yeah, he poses really nicely. If you're a dab hand and creative and got the angles right in photography and videography, you're gonna make this guy look very, very good. Of course, play around with lighting too, and then he's gonna look even more immense. But he looks super, super good. He's easy to pose. You know, I'm gonna get him in a bit more of a beastly pose because of the kind of form he's in here, but he can get into nice poses quite easily. So play around with this. But yeah, he looks great. No denying, he is a very, very nice looking figure. In fact, I like this one way more. And I mean way more than the Shippuden one. The Shippuden one, I had issues with the way his face looks. All of his face plates, pretty much, I didn't like the way they turned out. But this one, absolutely much, much better. One thing I do want to also say is the hair on mine is fine, but I do have a slight concern that the hair might vary in terms of bluntness and spikiness on other people's. I know that happened with at least 2 of my fourth Hokage from when they first did those figures. So hopefully everyone's got the same sort of hair and it's fine on their side as well, because yeah, blunt hair spikes is going to be very, very off-putting to look at. But yeah, I can't get over how this guy looks. He looks so, so good. Really good. Minor imperfections, as I mentioned, but you get that on any figure, right? So not the end of the world. But I love the way that this guy looks. He's really fun to play with, really fun to pose as well. So very, very good there. I do have Kakashi to quickly bring out. So I'm going to leave this guy with this face on, and now he's going to look a bit weird with that face, but I'm going to pose him up there. Let's bring out Hatake Kakashi, one of my favorite and many other people's favorite characters in the whole franchise. So I usually keep him out, so he's a bit dusty. He might not fit in frame, but we've got Kakashi standing a little bit lopsided. That's fine. And then I'll also bring out Sasuke, which separate video, so check that one out. So here we've got Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto, Hatake Kakashi, and then a bunch of rabble on the floor besides him. So yeah, Naruto's shorter than all of them as it should be. He looks pretty good. Sasuke we'll talk more about later on, but they do look pretty decent as a pair as well. I mean, once you got the trio, it's fine. Of course, we are missing Sakura, the young version of Sakura. We have had Shippuden version of Sakura, so it's a bit strange. They kind of skipped over her and went straight to Orochimaru, and I forgot the other guy's name, Obito, I think it is. So yeah, we really do need to get Sakura. She's not my favorite character by any means, but it seems very. There's a big gaping hole. We need to have Sakura here that just to kind of complete everything. And I'm sure she will fit in right if she's done well. Hopefully she'll be done quite well as well. But yeah, he's looking pretty good. And that's really it with him. There's not much else more to cover. He's otherwise quite simple, easy to work with, easy to pose, and quite fun to play with. Wrapping it up, I think this is a very good figure. I personally really enjoyed it. I love playing around with it. I think it poses nicely and it looks great as well. For me, I really love the faceplates. That's definitely the standout part for me with this package. All the faces look immaculate. I love them to bits. He's a little bit light on optional parts, so only coming with the Rasengan effect part and a single kunai. Maybe he could come with a scroll or something. That would have been really nice to have as well. But it's not the end of the world. I think as a package, he's still very good. And I could still recommend it to people who like this IP and want this young version of Naruto finally in the S.H.Figuarts lineup. So good job to Tamashii for releasing a really solid figure. I'm looking forward to what else they release in the future in 2024 and beyond for this IP in the S.H.Figuarts lineup of figures. Thank you very much for watching, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.